Have you ever felt like you're not heard? Now, don't look at your spouse or your kid and give them this eye. You know, it's interesting how many people in the world feel like they aren't heard. I can't count the number of people who have come into my office, sat down for counseling, and out of their mouth comes the word something to the effect of blank just doesn't listen to me. My dad, or just doesn't listen to me, or my mom, my brother or my sister, my wife or my husband, they just don't listen to me. This idea is highlighted by the story of a man who had a doctor's appointment. At the end of his appointment, the doctor asked him if he had any concerns. He said, "Doc, I really feel like my wife is losing her hearing." And the doc said, "Well, here's what you do. When you get home and she doesn't realize you're behind her, stand about 15 feet away and ask her a question. That way, if she responds, you know she can hear you." So the man goes home and he finds his wife standing at the kitchen sink. So he stands about 15 feet back and he says, "Hey, honey, what's for dinner?" No response. So he moves a little closer and he asks again, "Hey, honey, what's for dinner?" Still no response. So he gets right behind her where she can almost feel his breath and he says, "Hey, honey, what's for dinner?" This time she whips around and gives him an angry look and says, "I've told you 3 times, chicken." Oftentimes, we aren't listening ourselves and don't realize that maybe it's me that is the problem. Who is one person you feel like is a good listener? What is it about that person that gives you the impression that they're a good listener? Discuss this in your groups. Take a minute and have someone read James 1:19 through 27. Have another person retell what they've heard in their own words. After reading this, do you feel guilty? And if you're saying no, then me neither. But unfortunately, most of us are on the opposite side of this scripture. Too often, we are slow to listen, quick to speak, and quick to get frustrated or angry. Much of the time, we get angry because we feel like we're not being heard. It's ironic, right? What causes you to be quicker to speak than to listen? What are some things we can practice to change this habit? It's been said to me, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Practice what He gave you. I guess that tells you a little bit about me. You know, it's hard to listen more than we talk because I've got all the answers and I can fix any problem that you may have. Just listen to what I have to say and do it, and everything will be better. At least that's kind of what we're saying by responding quickly and not taking the time to listen. In the same breath, James also mentions being slow to anger. How does the tendency to listen more and speak less relate to James' encouragement to be slow to anger in this text? In verse 26, James continues this idea of managing yourself. He says to keep a tight rein on your tongue. Keeping a tight rein on your tongue is such a difficult thing. In our society, our tongue even extends to our phones. A modern translation of this might say something like, keep a tight rein on your phone, on your Facebook or your Twitter or your Snapchat. One of the things I really love about the book of James is the call to action. We as a church people tend to lean toward being a people of thought. We want to think about everything and discuss how we think about everything. It's almost as if we believe that our faith is somehow wrapped up and represented by how much we know, and that somehow makes us religious. James begins with manage your tongue, listen to others, and control your anger, and how you respond to the differences of people. Then James in verse 27 reminds us of what pure religion looks like. After reading through these verses, discuss with your community life group a plan of action that you as a group can take to practice the pure religion of taking care of others, to put your faith into action in your community, in your neighborhoods. I look forward to hearing the stories and seeing the pictures of what your group is doing and how faith has moved into action.